Imagine walking into a place of worship, a sanctuary where you're supposed to feel safe, protected, and uplifted. Now imagine that very place hiding a secret so troubling, so hard to believe, that it shakes an entire community to its core. This is the story of Charles Brinson, a pastor who stood at the pulpit every Sunday, preaching faith and morality to his congregation. But behind closed doors in the quiet of his home just steps away from the church, something deeply unsettling was taking place. A 16-year-old girl, someone who should have been able to trust him, walked into a hospital one evening with a story that would unravel a web of betrayal and confusion. She claimed that Brinson, a man of God, had used a mysterious, unmarked bottle containing a clear substance to make her lose consciousness. Not once, but twice. What happened next is every parent's deepest fear. This isn't just a story about a crime. It's a story about trust broken, faith questioned, and a community left searching for answers. How could someone who was supposed to guide and protect become the very thing they preached against? And what does this mean for the people who once looked up to him? This is the story of a pastor, a bottle, and a mystery that no one saw coming. Welcome to True Crime Files, where we uncover the truth behind the most surprising and thought-provoking true crime stories. Each week, we bring you the facts, the details, and the unanswered questions that lie at the heart of these cases. If you're new here, you're in for a journey that will keep you thinking long after the story ends. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, so you never miss a story that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. Tonight, we're exploring a case that has left the community in disbelief. A story of trust broken, secrets revealed, and a situation that no one could have imagined. This is the story of Charles Brinson, a pastor whose actions have shocked those who once called him their spiritual leader. Let's begin. In February 2024, a 16-year-old girl walked into a hospital in Trenton, New Jersey, with a story that would send shockwaves through the community. She claimed that Charles Brinson, the pastor of Brinson Memorial Church, had acted inappropriately toward her, not once, but twice. What made her story even more troubling was her claim that he used a mysterious, unmarked bottle containing a clear substance to make her lose consciousness before these incidents occurred. This wasn't just a random act. It was something that seemed planned, leaving the victim unable to defend herself. The first incident allegedly happened in mid-January, when Brinson invited the teenager to his home. According to the victim, he placed a bottle near her nose, and within moments, she lost consciousness. When she woke up, she was in his bedroom, confused and frightened. The second incident occurred on February 12th, and this time, the victim said Brinson had the substance on his fingers. He swiped it across her nose, and once again, she lost consciousness. But this time, she woke up during the incident, only to find herself in a situation she couldn't escape. The details she shared with investigators painted a troubling picture of a man who may have abused his position of trust. The unmarked bottle, the clear substance, and the loss of consciousness all pointed to something that seemed carefully planned. The victim's courage in coming forward set off a chain of events that would expose a side of Brinson that no one in the community had ever imagined. The first incident allegedly occurred in mid-January, when Charles Brinson invited the 16-year-old girl to his home on Brinton Avenue. According to the victim, the pastor had a bottle with him, a bottle that had no label, no markings, just a clear liquid inside. He placed it near her nose, and within moments, she felt her body go limp, her vision blurred, and her consciousness slipped away. When she woke up, she was in Brinson's bedroom, confused and scared. She couldn't remember exactly what had happened, but she knew something was very wrong. The details were hazy, but the fear was real. She didn't tell anyone at first. Maybe she was too scared. Maybe she didn't think anyone would believe her. Whatever the reason, she kept it to herself, hoping it was a one-time event she could forget. But it wasn't. The second incident happened on February 12th, just weeks after the first. This time, Brinson didn't need the bottle. The victim told investigators that he already had the substance on his fingers. As he approached her, he swiped it across her nose, and once again, she lost consciousness. But this time, something was different. She woke up during the incident. Her body was heavy, her mind foggy, but she was aware enough to realize what was happening. It was a moment of deep fear, one that would stay with her long after it was over. When it was finally done, She knew she couldn't stay silent anymore. On February 16th, just 4 days after the second incident, the victim walked into Capitol Health Medical Center in Hopewell, New Jersey. She was scared and shaken but determined to tell her story. The medical staff immediately contacted the police, and an investigation was launched. Detectives from the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office and the Trenton Police Department began piecing together the timeline of events. They interviewed the victim, collected evidence, and worked to build a case against Brinson. On February 19th, just 3 days after the victim came forward, Charles Brinson was arrested at his home on Brinton Avenue. The arrest sent shockwaves through the community. How could a pastor, someone who was supposed to be a moral guide, be accused of such actions? But as the investigation unfolded, it became clear that this wasn't the first time Brinson had been accused of inappropriate behavior. His past would soon come to light, revealing a pattern that raised even more questions about how he was able to continue leading a church. This wasn't the first time Charles Brinson had been accused of such actions. In 2008, over a decade before the allegations in Trenton, Brinson was arrested for inappropriate behavior with a 15-year-old girl from Philadelphia. The details of that case were strikingly similar to the recent allegations. Back then, Brinson was accused of using his position of trust to gain access to the victim, and the incident left a lasting impact on a young girl and her family. The case went to court, and Brinson pleaded guilty to 1 count of corruption of a minor. Instead of serving prison time, he was sentenced to 4 years of probation. But here's the question that lingers. How did a man with such a conviction return to a position of power within the church? After his probation ended, Brinson didn't fade into obscurity. Instead, he became the bishop of Brinson Memorial Church in Trenton, a role that placed him in a position of authority and trust once again. How was this allowed to happen? Did the church know about his past? And if so, why was he given an opportunity to lead a congregation, to stand before families and children, to preach about morality and faith? The answers to these questions are unclear, but what is certain is that Brinson's past should have raised concerns. His 2008 conviction was a warning, one that seems to have been overlooked. The community in Trenton had no idea about his history, and many are now left wondering how many others could have been at risk. The fact that Brinson was able to continue his role as a pastor, despite his criminal record, raises serious questions about accountability and oversight within religious institutions. This case isn't just about one man's actions. It's about the systems that allowed him to continue in a position of trust despite his past. It's about the victims who may have suffered in silence, and the community that is now grappling with the fallout. As the investigation continues, more questions are likely to emerge. But one thing is clear. Charles Brinson's past is a crucial piece of the puzzle, and it's a piece that can't be ignored. The news of Charles Brinson's arrest sent shockwaves through the Trenton community, leaving residents stunned and searching for answers. For years, Brinson had been a familiar face in the neighborhood. The leader of Brinson Memorial Church, a man who stood at the pulpit every Sunday, preaching about faith, morality, and community. But now, the very people who once looked up to him are grappling with a harsh reality. The man they trusted may have been hiding a troubling secret. One lifelong resident, Brooke Baker, spoke openly about her shock. She had lived near the church for years and had never seen Brinson engage with the neighborhood in a meaningful way. To know that we had somebody that close doing things like this, it's unsettling, she told reporters. Her words echoed the feelings of many in the community, who are now questioning how someone like Brinson could have led a church for so long without anyone suspecting his actions. The church itself, once a place of solace and worship, has now become a symbol of broken trust. Families who attended services are left wondering how they could have missed the signs, how they could have trusted someone capable of such actions. Parents are questioning whether their own children were ever at risk, and the sense of safety that once surrounded the church has been shaken. For some, the allegations have sparked anger. Anger at Brinson for betraying their trust, and anger at the systems that allowed him to continue in his role despite his past. How could this happen? One resident asked. How could someone with his history be allowed to lead a church? Who is watching out for us? These questions are being asked over and over again, but for now, there are no easy answers. The community is left to pick up the pieces, to find a way to move forward while grappling with the betrayal they feel. Some are calling for greater accountability within religious institutions, while others are focused on supporting the victim and ensuring that justice is served. But one thing is clear. The impact of Brinson's actions will be felt in this community for a long time to come. As the investigation continues, more details may emerge. But for now, the people of Trenton are left with a sense of unease, a feeling that the trust they once placed in their pastor may have been misplaced. And as they search for answers, they are reminded of the importance of vigilance, of questioning those in positions of power, and of standing up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. Charles Brinson is currently being held in Mercer County Jail, awaiting a detention hearing that will determine whether he remains in custody as the case against him moves forward. The charges he faces are serious. 2 counts of first-degree aggravated assault of a helpless or incapacitated victim, and 2 counts of second-degree endangering the welfare of a child. If convicted, he could spend the rest of his life behind bars. Authorities are taking the case seriously, and the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office has urged anyone with additional information or anyone who believes they may have been affected by Brinson to come forward. They are working to ensure that every piece of evidence is collected, every witness is heard, and every detail is examined. But as the investigation unfolds, a troubling question lingers. How many others could there be? Brinson's past conviction in 2008 raises concerns that there may be more individuals who have yet to come forward. The nature of his alleged actions suggests a pattern, one that may have gone unnoticed for years. Investigators are now looking into his history, his interactions with the community, and his time as a pastor to determine whether there are others who may have been affected. The legal process will be a long and difficult one, both for the victim and for the community. Court hearings, evidence reviews, and testimonies will all play a role in determining the outcome of the case. For now, Brinson remains in jail, unable to return to the church or the neighborhood where he once held so much influence. But the case is about more than just one man's actions. It's about accountability, about ensuring that those in positions of power are held to the highest standards. It's about protecting the vulnerable and making sure that no one else has to endure what the victim in this case has gone through. As the legal proceedings continue, the community watches closely, waiting for justice to be served. They are hopeful that the truth will come to light, that the victim will find closure, and that steps will be taken to prevent something like this from happening again. But for now, the question remains, how many others could there be? And what will it take to ensure that no one else suffers at the hands of someone they once trusted? So, to recap, Charles Brinson, a pastor who once stood at the pulpit of Brinson Memorial Church, is now facing serious charges for the alleged inappropriate actions toward a 16-year-old girl. The victim claims he used a mysterious, unmarked bottle containing a clear substance to make her lose consciousness. Not once, but twice. The first incident occurred in mid-January, when the victim lost consciousness after Brinson placed a bottle near her nose. The second incident happened on February 12th, and this time, she woke up during the event, only to find herself in a situation she couldn't escape. But this isn't the first time Brinson has been accused of such actions. In 2008, he pleaded guilty to corruption of a minor after inappropriate behavior with a 15-year-old girl in Philadelphia. Despite his conviction, he returned to a position of power within the church, raising questions about how he was allowed to continue leading a congregation. The Trenton community is reeling from the news, struggling to reconcile the man they thought they knew with the allegations now coming to light. Residents are left wondering how many others may have been affected and why more wasn't done to prevent this from happening. Brinson is currently being held in Mercer County Jail, awaiting a detention hearing as the legal process unfolds. Authorities are urging anyone with additional information or who may have been affected to come forward. If you found this story surprising, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to True Crime Files for more in-depth coverage of cases that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.